I'm joined today by Mr. Leslie Ndawana, who's the Principal Executive Officer of the National Fund for Municipal Workers. And we're discussing something that is quite important in the upcoming two-pot arrangement that will be coming our way in September. We have spoken quite extensively on this channel about the reasons sitting behind two pots and some of the legislative changes that needed to be done, but we haven't taken the angle of speaking to a fund directly and hearing what those boards of trustees and those members of funds think about these changes. So Leslie will be helping me to shed some light on that. And for that, welcome to the channel, Leslie. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you, Chris, for inviting me to your channel.
100%. So give us some perspective, my friend. I mean, I'd like us to understand, first of all, maybe let's start with the Board of Trustees. You know, what do the trustees think of the two-pot system? What's their reaction and what do they think about it?
So thanks, Chris. I think if we are to be very honest, this is an overwhelming task. Given the responsibility that is placed upon the Board of Trustees to make sure that this project succeeds. Remember, this is not a choice. It's mandatory. It's legislative. So on the minds of trustees is that feeling that if we don't get this right, we're non-compliant. So that brings in a totally different angle from a board's point of view. So you see even those trustees who have been on boards for many years, there is a feeling of discomfort to get this thing wrong, especially given the complexity around the two-pot system and all the pieces that needs to be put together.
I understand. So yeah, from a readiness perspective, I mean, that I think is crucial for most funds because, as you quite rightly said, yeah, there are many sort of moving parts to this thing. So okay, understand where the trustees are coming from, but give me a bit of perspective. I mean, how do members feel? And I would imagine there would be two camps in this arrangement. The first camp would be members that are very keen, obviously, because they want to get access to some of their funds, from the system. But then there's, I suppose, also members that don't necessarily want to make use of this. So just give us a general sort of, the feeling of coming from both those camps.
Okay. So thanks, Chris. In fact, when we looked at this, we found about 4 categories,
right,
as opposed to 2, right? But somehow the 4 will fit in the 2. But for the purpose of detailing and further analysis in relation to getting the project right, we identified, as a fund, we identified 4 categories. So the first one is that group that was genuinely affected by what happened during COVID.
right.
And that group, given the time lapse between COVID and now, the issues that were prompted by COVID, many of those people or that group have found a way to navigate through those issues, right, to the extent that those issues are no longer a driver of people or members accessing their money. So that's one group. Then we've got the second group. This second group is those members who had their own dreams that they wanted to fulfill using pension funds monies. Then we've got the third group. This group is those members who have consciously decided not to take their money because of the information that they got. So it's a well-informed position that I'm not going to do anything with this money, I'm going to leave it. Then there is the fourth group, for lack of a better expression, the ignorant ones, where out of lack of knowledge, ignorance, and that position that is usually taken by some members, as I said, out of ignorance. This is our money. Whatever I can put my hands on, I will take it, regardless of how much is made available, regardless of how much tax is to be levied on the withdrawals. I'm going to make use of whatever is made available.
Right.
So those are the 4 categories that we have established. And we will then focus on the 2 that talks to getting the money. That's where we're going to focus much on.
100%. You mentioned your 4 categories that you guys have defined. Well done on that. Is there any indication on the sort of percentages? I mean, are we talking, how big is this potential? Do you guys have a handle on that?
So it's difficult to pinpoint a figure, but what we have established now, although very, very subjective at the moment, because it's an evolving process.
Yes.
I would put the as I said, for a lack of a better phrase, the ignorant category probably at about 60%, because we have done so far a lot of work in terms of addressing some of the lack of information and what happens. But probably further down the conversation, we'll look at what we have done in terms of communication.
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, so I mean, to that point, what kind of strategies have you guys employed? Because I mean, 60% is a big number, make no mistake. So what kind of strategies have you guys employed in your communication to your membership to explain to them, the good, the bad, and the ugly? How is this thing going to affect them if they do enact upon it? What have you guys done from the fund side?
So we've employed a multi-pronged approach. We've got a team of 6 communication consultants,
right,
who are fully employed by the fund on a fund salary. So whose day job is to go talk to the members.
Wow.
So before the advent of the two-pot, we would just go out, engage our members, create relationship with our members, discuss more general issues, the fund's offering, etc., etc. But now the focus has been to address the two-pot issues and any issues that needs clarity from members. So we hold sessions at different municipalities,
yes,
different depots within municipalities to get the message across. That's one angle. The other angle that we have used or we are using is we appointed as a fund a financial planning house, proper financial planning house that also goes out or uses its network to go engage our members.
Right.
So as our own communication consultants moves into the field, they will get specific cases or specific groups that needs particular information that goes beyond mere information, that gets into the space of advice is envisaged by FIRES. Then the financial advisors whom we've appointed would then come in and cover that gap. So the issues around tax and integration or integrated financial planning will then be addressed by the appointed financial advisors. And these financial advisors, the fund pays them. So it's pure, sincere financial advice that is not seeking a fee from the member. From the perspective of the member, this person is helping. And as a fund, we're paying for those fees. So from a member's point of view, it's a free service that we're offering as part of our value proposition as a fund. But what we've also done or doing, and remember, whatever we're doing now, it's going to be a continuous process until we get to the 1st of September.
Right.
Is we're engaging with participating employers. If we look at our fund specifically, we've got in excess of 120 participating employers in the fund. So it's a big task. So we've got 120 municipalities to engage. And in some of the municipalities, you may find that there are different pay points. So you must go engage with the HR officials at different pay points. You can even, for the purpose of this exercise, have those different pay points as an employer.
Yeah.
So, which means the number of participating employers in that sense actually gets to be more than 120. So you can see it's a big task.
Yes.
But we have written letters to explain to them, and now we're following those letters with meeting and engagements. But mainly what we're focusing on in relation to this engagement is getting the employer to understand that this is not only National Fund of Municipal Workers issue. First, it's a regulatory issue. Second, it's an employer issue. As much as the fund or the members are members of NFMW, those same members are employees of the municipalities. So we've got almost critical responsibilities as partners in the success of that project. So it's the message that we're going through with, and we also saying to the employers, we will support you. And we have started, in fact, 1 or 2 now, to install administration portals that we need to sit at various municipalities, so that much of the work is also done at the source. Can you imagine trying to have a fund of our size, 56,000 members? You can call it 56,000 records.
Yeah.
Running a manual process and having, if we assume 60-70% are going to withdraw, 60% of 56,000, that's still significant number of claims that we would expect. And having that kind of number of claims coming through on a manual process, we will find the last person of the 60% getting paid in March or April of the following year. So we're also trying to address that by envisioning the process being electronic and starting it from the source. So we're also going to run training sessions with the employers, how the portal works, what they need to provide. If you look at much of the information like verification of banking details, these are details that the employer already has, which becomes very simple, and we can even integrate their payroll and the admin system. Those systems can talk to each other and be integrated. That sort of gives us a seamless process. So this is more what we are doing, but beyond the main stakeholder being the employer, we also engaging the other partners in relation to making sure that all the other pieces are pulled together. For us as a fund, we've actually come up with a plan that enables us to track progress and bring all the pieces together, and that has helped us, and we can track the progress of particular items. Some of the items in like communication, we can look at them as evolving, but we'll be able to track. So far, we have reached 40% of membership. So far, then we are able to track and look at that. But maybe if you can allow me to go back to the question that we first spoke about.
Yes.
Once we identify the so-called ignorant or those that doesn't have information, we have put up a strategy to follow through on that category, and we're focusing mainly that just to make sure that the information goes through. What we've also noticed as we were preparing, or as we're preparing for this project, is the cleanliness of the admin data. You don't want to end up making 2 or 3 payments. And those 2, 3 payments are taxed. Then you realize this was one person. Trying to untangle that, it's a mess. Over and above the fact that at that point, there will be non-compliance. So we, at the moment, also trying to clean up the data. Not that the data is not clean, just to make sure that there is no duplicate records. There are no data issues that affects the smooth movement of the project.
Okay, that was very interesting. I can tell you, I mean, a couple of things stand out for me. Is number one, obviously the scope of the job in terms of communicating, typically in a fund like yours case, with such a massive footprint and all these different pay points and locations, with a team of 6 people, to sort of reach and get to everybody and communicate these issues to them, I think is quite important. So that's a big job. I can understand it. The second one I found very interesting is also what I think not many people always understand, the practicalities sitting behind some of these things coming in. And for example, as you spoke about just now, the cleanliness of the records, cleaning up the member records to avoid any duplication, but the sheer spread, again, I refer to the footprint of how far your members are spread across the whole spectrum. And then also, the processes that are involved, being able to deal with these things individually per individual and make sure that it happens timeously and all of that. So yeah, I understand. Big job, big job ahead of you guys as far as that's concerned, and also a big responsibility. And it's a shared responsibility with industry. I mean, even ourselves on the media side, in terms of helping communicate and explaining to people, all the ins and outs, surrounding the 2 pots, I think is very, very important. So it's been very insightful, Leslie. Thank you very much. I think what we should do is maybe re-engage a little bit more closer to the time, maybe have a follow-up conversation to see, how things are on track. What are the sort of developments? Are there any changes to feelings? Are there, how successful are people like yourselves in reaching out and getting this message across? So it was an absolute pleasure having you on board, and certainly, yeah. Any sort of closing thoughts from your side?
Thank you. I think in closing, I would say what is informing all the initiatives, whether it's communication or decision making in relation to the project, is we are not looking at the fund as an institution only. We are looking at members as individuals.
Yes.
And that's informing our decision making in the processes that we go through. Thank you so much.
100%. No, I get that, because it is an important decision and can have a major effect on that particular individual going forward. So well done on your strategy, and thanks. Yeah, we'll certainly continue this conversation.
Thank you
Leslie,
so much, Chris.
my pleasure. We'll chat soon. Thank you.
Thank you.